I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Friday, February the 4th, brought to you in part by Norbrook. And Norbrook wants producers to be aware of some new Fda Antibiotic Guidelines. They're going to be coming your way June of 2023, so that'll be early next summer, not this summer. But you will be needing a script for all antibiotics. Even penicillin. I mean, just, some of these things that we've always gave and didn't think too much about them, you're going to have a prescription for those. And they don't want you to be caught flat-footed on there. You need to get in touch with a veterinarian there that's going to be handy for you whenever you need those drugs on a short notice, and get that script on file with your favorite drug supply source there. But you're going to have it for all products, even popular common products like Norbrook's Normycin 300 LA. But for more information, go to norbrook.com. Disappointing week down in Houston on my way back from there, and I tell you what, the roads are terrible in the southern part of Texas there, and coming up through North Texas up here in Fort Worth now. But my goodness, the roads are bad. They don't have near enough snow removal services there, and I don't think there's a pile of sand and gravel anywhere. But you would think they would spend a little bit more than that. They get one of these almost every year, but they act like they just don't know what to do with themselves. But we saw the disappointing results of the meeting at NCBA, where they went ahead and said that NCBA opposes mandates of any kind, even for minimum negotiated cash trade. And I tell you what, as the meeting went, and I told you guys that basically the only ones that talked about on it or got up and spoke was those that were opposing the mandates. And of course, KLA had them, coming right in, and they had the next guy and the guy that was on deck, and they were bringing them in and telling them what to say and doing all that. And they pretty much already had the debate. The debate happened at the summer meeting there, whenever they said that they would try the voluntary fix, and if they hit the triggers, then they would pursue, and aggressively, they said at one point, pursue regulatory or legislative help to get packers to participate in negotiated trade. Well, so now they oppose it. They oppose all mandates. Well, you would have thought when we got done, the way that meeting went, that everybody would be really excited, and they were not. For the most part, you saw people with a disgusted look on their face. But they knew that they weren't going to be able to get what they wanted pushed through because they couldn't outrun Kansas Livestock Association and Texas Cattle Feeders Association, who ended up bullying Texas and Southwestern Cattle Raisers Association into changing their policy, because they were for more negotiated trade. So they ended up bullying TSCRA into going with them. But, and then NCBA as a whole completely ignored their policy of pursuing a fix to that. But guys were kind of down about it, and you think maybe I felt uncomfortable being around there because I've been so outspoken for a mandate, and not at all. And I tell you what, I had a lot of people that I did not know that had watched these reports and had come up and shook my hand or slapped me on the back and said, man, we really appreciate what you're trying to do for us. But, they just didn't have the balls and didn't have the votes to get it done. But you see, Texas Cattle Feeders Association had 25 votes. A lot of whole states, and they've got another trade organization there that has a bunch too, with Southwestern Cattle Raisers. But we had a lot of big cow states, the Dakotas and places like that, where they raise a lot of cattle, and they hardly had any votes. Less than 5, a lot of them. Just doesn't hardly seem fair. But they had some more meetings on Thursday. But, the big meeting was pretty much over, and a lot of people came to that meeting, and they had standing room only, like I showed you in the picture on our last visit. But they did come in and had some other meetings on some other issues on Thursday. But then I found out, I was not there, but I found out that Mississippi Cattlemen's Association, they brought it up again, and they were so disgusted with it. And so they brought it up again and talking about how now they oppose a mandate. And then Georgia seconded it. They had some more discussion. That they had another little vote, and of course lost again because you can't outrun Texas Cattle Feeders and Kansas Livestock Association. And they were not happy about having to redo that again. And California threw right in with them. A lot of negotiated trade over there in California. They're all contract growers. And I guess everybody in Texas and Kansas is going to be that way too. Of course, your big corporate feeders are already just contract growers. But, you know, the only state affiliates that were for the mandate were Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Iowa, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska, North Dakota, Oregon, and Washington. Now, we had a lot more than that had signed on in favor of it back when we had the first debate about it, but they had gotten bullied by the American Farm Bureau Federation or some of the bigger affiliates there that have all the votes to get off of it. But pretty disgusting. I was visiting there with somebody that I knew was against the mandate. You know, I don't hate the people, I just disagree with them, but was visiting with him, and we were talking about some other things, and he had said that he had some cattle he was going to sell privately to a neighbor. And I said, well, how do you derive a price for those cattle? He said, well, we weigh them up. I said, well, but where do you get the price for those cattle if you're going to sell them to your neighbor or a direct guy down there? And he said, well, I said, do you haggle on it? I mean, how do you do that? And he goes, no, we just go off the top price at the local sale barn, or a sale barn that we agree. And I said, so you use that price to base your trade off of? And he goes, yeah. And he said, if we need to adjust, we can. And I said, what if you didn't have any sale barns? And he looked at me like I was crazy. No, what if you didn't have a sale barn to get that price for you, to have that transparency? What if you didn't have that? You don't support the sale barn because you're not taking your cattle there, but you're using that price discovery to sell your cattle. Okay, what if we don't have the sale barns anymore? Well, I don't know what we would do. That's where you're at on your fat cattle trade. We've brought that to light. The Texas A&M research said that Texas feedlot areas will go to net zero negotiated trade within the next 4 years. They're damn near there right now. Well, so what are you going to do then? I guess you just let the packers establish that for you, or what? I have no idea. But very disappointing week again. Let's look at the board. On Thursday, February live cattle futures were up 47 cents. All your traded contracts on live cattle are life of contract highs this week. I mean, they just went up, up, up. Your February contract was up every single day so far this week. But at 141.60, we're not going to have a weighted average that high, but we worked it higher this week some. April live cattle down just 15 cents at 146.75. That sounds pretty good. Your back months were down 30 to up 50 cents. How about March feeder cattle? They were down just 15 cents at 166.72. April was down just 2 cents at 171.80. Your back months were down a nickel to down 55 cents. It was a good hedging opportunity for cattle feeders and backgrounders this week because we saw those impressive prices on your futures market. And if you didn't take advantage of those, it's not too late, but you might be wanting to think about that. I still think that the market's got a long ways to go up, but you might want to lay off a percentage of them, maybe a third of them or a half of them, depending on what you have. Your grains were a lot quieter on Thursday than what they've been previously. Your corn was down 5 3/4 at 6.16 3/4 for March. Beans were down just 1 cent. You kidding me? They've been trading 20 and 30 and more one way and then the other, but down just 1 cent on Thursday at 15.44 and a quarter. How about Kansas City hard red winter wheat? Down just a half a cent. And they trade, in big swaths, but down just a half a cent on Thursday. I guess when everything's frozen, they don't know which way to go with it, but $7.69 a bushel. Fat cattle trade a little bit more established, and probably the biggest trade day that we'll see, in the southern plains especially, because we hadn't seen hardly any trade there at all, especially on a live basis. The northern trade areas probably about done, and we've probably seen most all the trade. Might be a little bit of cleanup trade on Friday, but it won't change the market at all. Iowa, just 200 head confirmed. 4,200 head in Iowa. They're going to have to trade some cattle in Iowa. They normally trade 20,000 and only traded 4,200. Maybe that's a punishment for coming out in support of a mandate for minimum trade. But live sales on Thursday, 140 live, 220 to 222 dressed. That's pretty good. Nebraska, 3,200 head confirmed on Thursday, almost 30,000 for the week. Live sales in Nebraska on Thursday, 139 to 140. Dress sales, 222 to 223. Kansas, 5,700 head, not quite 8,000 for the week. That's light, but live sales 138 to mostly 140. Texas, 7,500 head. That's odd for Texas to have more sales than Kansas, but that's all they've traded so far for the week, but a pretty good clip there. 136 to all 140. It was pretty much all 140. Your weighted average was almost 140. Just had a few smaller deals, 136 and 139. But Texas and Kansas, $3 higher for the week in the southern plains. Box beef cutout values were lower again. Your choice cuts, 281.46 down $1.69. Select down 310 at 276.47. Slaughter has been very good this week. Now, we did have some weather problems. One plant for sure had some problems getting their full harvest on there due to your wintry weather problems, but only 117,000. We've had 120,000 or better both Tuesday and Wednesday this week. But so far for the week, 479,000 head. That's 10,000 more than last week, 9,000 more than the same week a year ago. Be a big week of harvest for cattle. Your actual slaughter information for the week ending January 22nd come in. Average dressed steer carcass weight 925 pounds. That was up 3 pounds, but that's not really a biggie. It went down 6 pounds on our previous report, so that's not a big market mover right there. Let's talk about your feeder cattle markets, brought to you by Margin Tracks by Midcon. Real-time index on DV auction late in the day on Thursday sitting at 160.39, back over 160. That's based on an 800-pound steer up through the middle 12 states there. And good to see that back over 160. All of our feeder cattle, the heavier feeder cattle, sold better this week. They had dropped for a couple of weeks previous since the holidays. They've kind of been downer on your bigger feeders, but back up now where they belong. But that was up $1.16. Compared to Wednesday, so that's pretty good. But it was heavily shadowed by Ogallala because so many sales didn't end up having a very good run, especially in the southern plains. Now, likely the weather was just as nasty in the northern plains, but those people are tougher up there, and they know how to handle the weather whenever they get it. But Ogallala had 3,800 head. I'm sure it wasn't a bright sunny day there with short sleeves and flip-flops, but over 600 pounds. Steers and heifers sold $5 to $10 higher. Look at your best tested weights of steers on our online automated market report there through Cattle Market Central. 291 head of your 5-weight steer calves averaged $559 at $200.88. That was up about $3 compared to last week. 557 head of your 6-weight steer calves averaged $652 with a weighted average price of $182.93 on all the 6-weight steer calves they had in Ogallala on Thursday. Wow, that was up 3.5 from last week. 512 head of your 7-weight steers averaged right at $750 with a weighted average price on all your 7-weight steers in Ogallala of $172.75, weighing right at 7.5. That was $9 higher than last week. So I can't argue a bit with the call that the Federal State Market Reporter had there. About 380 head of your 8-weight steers averaged $853 at $164.65, which would have been sharply higher. and that lent to our real-time index gaining that much ground. Mitchell, South Dakota, Mitchell Livestock, 3,500 head there. Market was $3 to $6 higher. Spots $9 higher. Stick out sale in Mitchell, 105 head of 750-pound steers, bring 172.10. How about Glasgow, Montana? Glasgow stockyards there, 116 head, 606-pound steers, bring 193.85. Big time quote, but the best quote that I saw anywhere on Thursday. Your National Beef Wire top quote for the day come out of Stockman's Livestock Exchange in Dickinson, North Dakota at the East Barn. 63 head, 678-pound steers, bring 178.75. And that's your feeder flash for Friday.